All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Can we talk with Dr. Dan Mason? I want to go over a little bit. That's something that only has taken place. Thank God for another victory under Trump administration, and that has been the complete uh, failure of the climate hoax so far. Uh, I want to get into it, get into some data, get into some information, and just show, go live here, just show that for years we have been beat over the head with this climate change, and we want to get the information. Now, I'm on TikTok. They might shut me down if I start talking about something resembling truth. So, but we want the climate change, the hoax. Uh, we have taken many years and wasted many taxpayer dollars on this idea. So let's go and see what we can do. I need to get this out of the way because it's up there. There we go. Get out of the way. All right. So I lived through the climate change frenzy. Democrats screamed about the end of the world. They pushed fear day by day. AOC led the charge, if you remember. She called it an existential threat. Now, silence, total quiet. And why is that? That is because Donald Trump won in 2024. All of a sudden, the end of the world. You got 12 years, you got 6 years, you got, oh, he won. And he annihilated this whole big charade. Thank you, Jesus. All right. He exposed the scam, and they moved on fast. They went in from that to hating the Jews, and they went into free Palestine. So we want to look at it. Excuse me. You won't be able to hit on TikTok, but I'm going to play. This is from The Hill. This is about our friend Bill Gates.
Microsoft founder and former richest man in the world, Bill Gates, surprised many people with an essay that he published on Tuesday. Now, Gates has
Now, Bill Gates wrote an essay on climate change. Seems that it's not the big deal that we was told, even by Gates.
long been a vocal activist for fighting against climate change, donating billions of dollars to support climate research and investments.
But in his essay, Gates writes that a strategic pivot is necessary in the fight against climate change and that some of the money spent on it should be redirected elsewhere. Gates says in part, quote, "Our chief goal should be to prevent suffering, particularly for those in the toughest conditions who live in the world's poorest countries. Although climate change will hurt poor people more than anyone else, for the vast majority of them, it will not be the only or even the biggest threat to their lives and welfare. The biggest problems are poverty, disease, just as they always have been." He then listed his 3 tough truths about climate change. The first one says climate change.
Now, for those that track, I keep saying track, TikTok. Oh, thing is going out here. Uh, I'm gonna break it down, and then for those that are on I'm on the Zoom format, so I can get the behind the shoulder look. I haven't learned that on TikTok yet. But what Bill Gates says, supposedly, the 3 tough truths about climate change. Climate change is a serious problem. He still wants to perpetuate the hoax, but it will not be the end of the civilization. Wow, are you kidding me? So he's backtracking on that. But you won't get too many, I feel, too many of those who are, let's say, the proponents of climate change, AOC, Bernie Sanders, and all the rest, because they are the puppets, and Bill Gates and some of them are the puppet masters. They pay them to play. Right? He said temperature is not the best way to measure our progress on the climate. Are you kidding me? That has been their whole story from the beginning. The temperature is rising. The temperature is rising. He says health and prosperity are the best defense against climate change. Are you kidding me? But they have no truth. And like the NPR CEO once said, truth gets in the way. So they don't have a standard. It's like if you ever read the book 1984, they turn truth upside down. The ministry of peace is the ministry of war, that sort of thing. So it is amazing how we have in this little time since put something out here. I see some people dropping in, they dropping out. God bless you. You stay, you go. It's all good. Uh, they have been pushing this to the point where, rational people have thought, oh my goodness, the science, the science. But scientists lie, especially when they're getting paid, because there is the medical practitioners, there's the scientists, but there's also the business of science. Until you learn what the business of medicine is and the business of science, you won't understand why they do certain things, why they have a procedure like they've been called by Pam Bondi, skin grafts on a dying patient that is terminal, because by doing so, they get to charge the government many times. So let's go on with Gates argues for redirecting climate funds.
Is a serious problem, but will not be the end of civilization. The second says temperature is not the best way to measure our progress on climate. And lastly, health and prosperity are the best defense against climate change.
Gates went on to say that he knows some people will call him a hypocrite for saying this, but he expanded.
Bill Gates is a hypocrite for saying what he said. Again, those on TikTok can't hear the video, but I'll load it up later. But I just wanted to go live. I'm gonna let it go so I can concentrate on this. But thank you all for tuning in, those that did, and maybe I'll be back on later so I can, but I want to show this video and then come back. All right, so let's get back to this video.
On his thoughts in an interview with CNBC.
Shouldn't we, in our awareness of how little generosity there is to help, measure, should we get them a measles vaccine or should we do some climate-related activity? And if we stop putting all vaccines and that, saved you 0.1 degree.
Whew. They can't stop lying to save themselves. They got to spin it. He's a billionaire. I don't know, have he sold his soul? I don't understand, but it is amazing what they are doing and what death they would do. All right. So let me go back over some of this. All right. So I see the pattern. Fear sells votes, and that's what they push. He pushed it, and he's still pushing it now. Because remember now, throw this in there, he is buying up a lot of land. It's like the Chinese were. Farms, not to help us. He's not the RFK Jr. type of person. He's not to help you. He's to make a profit and also, I would say to corrupt your food supply. Why? Because he's going to get GMOs and all different kind of things. He want to stop cows from farting. He want to stop methane in humans, but that requires going against nature. And I pretty much believe they see themselves as God or demigods. All right. So it's a cash grab. Billions poured into green dreams, trillions if you count all the subsidies over time. And the results are zero, just like the super speed rail in California, billions poured into it, no super rail, super train, fast train. Billions poured into homelessness, it increased because there's no mechanism in place to monitor or to regulate the outcome, the results. With the homeless, it's heads on beds. And then the CEO of whatever nonprofit gets $600 or $1 million a year, and only thing they have to do is put some bodies on the bed for a night, but they don't follow through with who gets work, who needs medical, who needs psychological help. They don't follow through. So just want to point it out. All right. No cooler planet, no fewer storms, just broke taxpayers. We paid out trillions and we got nothing. As you go back to just before 9/11, they lost a trillion or two. So the government is good at losing your money, being unaccountable for trillions of dollars. And I want to break it down as we continue this video, and then I'll get back on TikTok and bring this out as best I can. Start with Biden years. The Inflation Reduction Act hit in 2022. Lawmakers called it the biggest climate bill ever, the biggest hoax ever. Cost $391 billion straight for green energy and cuts. But wait, that number hides more. Tax credits balloon the price. Experts peg it at 396 billion to 1.97 trillion over 10 years. Add other funds, Biden tracked 1.6 trillion total in federal climate cash. All right, let's go back to here, see what you have to say.
Would that be a smart trade-off? That's the kind of question we have to ask. So I'm a climate activist, but I'm also a child survival activist.
Now, some people online viewed Gates' essay as him turning his back on his old beliefs.
Turning his back on his old beliefs. I would say he is pivoting so that it's about control, so he can maintain some type of control.
Maxwell Meyer, writing for Arena Magazine, writes on X, "This is a white flag from someone who fought hard for an insane set of ideas and lost." Daily Wire reporter Megan Basham says, "Here's what I know. Stick to what you know to be true long enough, and eventually the fever passes, fashionable trends crumble, and you can hold your head high, knowing that you never bought into the consensus."
Right.
Now, Gates' comments come ahead of the United Nations Climate Change Conference. The 30th annual meeting is held in Brazil from November 10th to November 21st.
Well, I welcome Bill Gates to Club Reality,
Yes.
which is not that climate change is...
She is, of course, Democratic, leftist, progressive.
Is not happening or that it's made up or anything like that. Human activity, well, the climate has been changing for hundreds and hundreds of years, for as long as there was climate on planet Earth, and human activity does contribute to it. That's not in contention, but the more apocalyptic predictions of climate, of people active on that issue, did not come true. You know, from ridiculous things to, you know, there's going to be the extinction event. There's overcrowding, overpopulation, all that stuff. None of it happened, which is good. And just prioritizing.
He's being generous because the amount of CO2 from humans is like 0.004 or something. It's ridiculously small, because you have to remember you have the atmosphere, and the atmosphere has layers of air that travels in opposite directions. So it's a lot to get to where they think it is, and you know, if it gets to where it is, then and reflecting sun off the planet is so many of these theories,
Fighting,
which some are contradictory.
Rises in temperature. If that comes, if the trade-off is living miserably or starvation or the disease mitigation efforts thwarted in the third world, that would not be worthy trade-offs. So I agree with what he's saying here completely.
Take care of the people. We can be charitable, but not fools. USAID was a train wreck. It was highway robbery of the American taxpayers. They're taking our money, shipping it to others to buy influence.
that this was not his position prior, but he's landed in the correct place. I wonder if, like liberal left climate activists, people, their hair is going to be on fire because of this, contributing to the hole in the ozone with their burning hair follicles. But this is what people I've listened to, Michael Schellenberger, and who's been a guest on our program multiple times, what he's been saying for years. So welcome to the team.
Well, I am, for one, not a hysterical climate activist.
Oh, yeah.
I do think what Bill Gates was saying is that climate change does matter, but maybe the way that we talk about it is causing more harm than good,
Right.
and even to the poorest people. I would look at it this way. Instead of the climate activists, who I believe have good intentions, feeling like Bill Gates is now undercutting them.
I'm sure they do have good intentions.
Well, I think that I like to
Not the
believe
ones
glass
that
half
throw
full.
soup at paintings.
Fine.
Those people.
We can talk about the worst type of protesters.
Every time.
And then we can talk about an overall movement.
The temperature
Can I-
got 10 degrees higher, okay? That's what it makes me want to do when they throw soup at paintings.
Instead of climate activists feeling like he's trying to undercut them, since he did describe himself still as a climate activist, maybe this could finally be a bridge to have a conversation with people that are in power on both sides of the aisle, that think that maybe the hysterics weren't necessary, but the conversation still is, to figure out a real way to have less dramatic conversations about solutions.
The problem is the hysterics was necessary because the science isn't there. Your hysterics of emotion is to overpower the person thinking ability, logic, and to get them to operate on emotion where you can control. It's all about control. Follow the money.
It doesn't have to be number one on the list. I think he's acknowledging that, but it needs to be on the list. And so that's where to start, instead of being like, oh my gosh, the roof is on fire, we have to do something right now, or the world's going to end. Like, that was never a good starting point, because some people were looking at today and right now and saying, yes, it's hysterical. I told you I'm not hysterical. I do think that he's trying to take a more of a pragmatic angle, which also will lead to hopefully future real solutions. We should be mindful of our environment. I don't think it's a bad thing that people, the hysterical part you could do away with, but we should all be mindful and treat our environment better, right? You talk about how the economy and the government and the money we spend will be terrible situation for our kids. Well, guess what? If they don't have an earth to live in because we trash it, then that's also not.
That's not the same thing. Trashing the earth is not the same thing as using nuclear power to go greener, which y'all are against. It is not the same thing as making battery-powered airplanes when the science is not there, or battery-powered tanks and that sort of foolishness. When you got China building coal-fired plants all over the place, China and India. So it's not realistic to put us like in California, 2035, no gas powered engine to be sold in the state. Ridiculous.
Going to be great for them too. So we could all do better with that, right? Stop littering, stop doing those things, maybe stop using the can spray.
Yeah, stop littering.
Yeah, we can all do better.
We don't want to live in filth and squalor anyway. So
yeah, so we can all just take care of our
regardless
environment.
of being
I don't think you can say that's a bad mission to say that people who cared about the climate and how that contributes to the deterioration of the world are bad people. That's not a bad intention. They're caring.
It's Marxist control. You are blinded by your rhetoric. It's Marxist control. It's about money. It's about power. It's about taking away your right to live a life. It is about telling you what stove you can put in your house when it's unnecessary, when it's more cheaper and life supporting to have a gas power stove.
About the things out there. Now, the hysterical part, I'll agree with you, but I'll never bash a climate activist just because they want to make our world better.
I'll bash them.
But why?
I will bash
why? I don't think
will bash them.
Those types of...
I like her a lot.
Oh, she's...
Yeah.
When you were her age, what were you doing, Robbie? That's a noble young girl.
I was in school.
Exactly what she's doing.
She
Something
should go
noble.
back to
She's
school.
fighting for what she believes in. Okay, I don't think she needs to go back to school. I think she's doing
I think she's dumb, but that's fine.
dumb.
Yes.
That's such a strong language for a young girl who's inspiring millions.
I don't have to. Oh, she's inspired.
Yes.
I don't have to agree with
But
her.
dumb? She's just a young girl who's fighting for what she believes in. Why is that dumb?
It's a dumb idea. It's not supported by science. She does not know what she's supporting.
About. She is exactly the kind of hysterical, anti-progress human being I'm describing, because the best way, here's the policy, the best way to mitigate the harms of climate change is improved technological innovation, which requires energy use and requires capitalism to be unleashed, requires us to free the inventive, productive sectors of the economy to find new and innovative ways to produce energy more efficiently and more cheaply. And that requires less government regulation, less subsidies for existing sources of energy. It just requires getting governments out of the way, and that's not the set of policies that progressive activist type people ever favor.
Like Bill Gates.
Like Greta Thunberg.
Okay,
Thank
but
you.
maybe Bill Gates is open to that conversation, which is a great.
All right, let me go and get just a little bit too. I'll throw this in there. Some more facts to go with that, noise. All right, wind turbines got a fast slice. From 2010 to 2023, Uncle Sam handed wind $65 billion in subsidies. Okay. Solar took $76 billion, same stretch. In 2024 alone, credits for renewables top $31 billion. Taxpayers footed $421 billion projected for those credits. The military joined the party. Biden took the military, is there to, government should be limited power, but they want a nanny state. They want to, from the cradle to the grave, to control your life. They own your children. They own your life. You're in government schools all day, and they're taking away the reading, writing, and arithmetic, and throwing in their propaganda. There's 75 different transgenders. All right, the military joined. All right, the party, Department of Defense, chase green goals. Budget requests hit 3.1 billion in 2022 for climate stuff. By 2024, they asked for 5.1 billion to fight climate risk. Bases rebuilt green after storms. Camp Lejeune got 3 billion post hurricane. Tyndall Air Force Base swallowed 3.7 billion. Soldiers train on electric tanks that break down. All right. You got to win the war to protect the homeland. If you play in these mind games and you don't have tried and true equipment, you're going to lose the battle. Fuel savings, a joke. A little bit more here, then we get back, finish out this video. Democrat caucus own this. Green New Deal push by AOC and the squad. Biden made it law. House Dems cheered. Senate followed. Priorities were clear. Net zero by 2050. Ban fossil fuels. Force EVs on everyone. All right. What about storms? What about flooding? Who's going to power it when the power goes out? How you going to get around? The government don't take care of you when you need them. They want to govern you when you don't need them. Science. What science? No clear proof. Man causes catastrophes. Models fail for decades. Predictions of doom flop. Polar bears thrive. Sea levels rise slow. Storms match old records. In 2024, after the election, there was silence. Hottest year, they said, but data showed pause in hysteria. AOC posted nothing on crisis since January 2025. Biden and Harris, crickets on emergency. Ex post prove it. Dems ditched the talk. Why? Voters picked Trump. Affordability beat climate 2% to top issues. All right. Trump solved it. He won big, promised cheap energy, drill, baby, drill. Now Dems whisper about bills, not doom. Everything he does wrong is wrong to them. But gas prices drop, power stays on. All right, let's finish up here.
Thing. That to me, that's a good thing. I also think, he's calling for a little bit of balance. He's calling for innovation. I mean, this is one of the most innovative guys in our history.
Nuclear power plants was a huge mistake.
Yes.
Because nuclear power, I know Chernobyl, nuclear power is
Chernobyl wasn't small.
And clean compared to fossil fuels. So you should move from fossil fuels to nuclear. And then when possible, when it's economically productive to do so, to wind and solar and whatever else. Fine, but you can't force that. You can't just say, "Oh, we banished we banished coal."
And especially, I agree with you. And especially if that money is taking away from helping some of the poorest in our world to accomplish missions of solar power in the U.S. or.
I understand. We help the world. We help ourselves. America first. That's what the Democrats can't understand. Bill Gates is not Bill Gates, Soros. They may be using some of their money, but they were using USAID, taxpayer money, taxpayers that disagree with their theology of climate change to get things done. They was using us with the help of those bought and paid for lifelong politicians in Washington.
Elsewhere to make our climate more like that's not effective, right? If the world's suffering on behalf of getting more solar panels, we got to figure out how to keep people
also
alive.
People make ridiculous claims, like every time now there's a hurricane or an earthquake or whatever, people say, oh, see what climate change is
getting
causing
so warm out.
severe weather.
Well, hurricane is caused by the warmth, I believe.
No, there's no statistical correlation.
The water is warm.
Changing climate change and more severe weather events. Fewer people die in advanced countries from severe weather events than ever before. Because even though we've warmed the temperature ever so slightly and warmed the waters ever so slightly, we've built more reinforced buildings because of the
that's what Bill Gates. So what about the poor people then?
Well, so we need to make available to them the same kind of developments, and that takes...
That's maybe more precedence over climate change.
Exactly. So we can mitigate the harm.
Hopefully Bill Gates comes to the table and has more of these conversations. Now, former President Barack Obama reportedly was going off on Nancy Pelosi in a tense phone call last year. The new bombshell report from Jonathan Karl's new book, Retribution, coming up. We'll be right back.
She got a split right in front of me. Lady, learn how to dress in public. All right, what we got? And that's
Bill
my
Gates,
opinion.
Legendary philanthropist in the climate space, of course, in the global health space, putting out a 5,000-page memo, basically extolling his fellow billionaire class and investors to focus less on the existential threat of climate change and more on poverty and global health.
If Bill Gates had his way, all the while I was expressing the view that he now espouses, if he had had his way, it would have destroyed the world.
Yes.
Bill Gates. He is now aligning himself with what people like me, and I'm not the only one, I've had guests going back to 2011 on this, what we have been saying for a very long time. He's walking back his climate change prescriptions, not descriptions, his prescriptions, which were zero emissions. It's catastrophic. It's impending doom. I've been saying for a long time, it's not.
He knew it was a lie.
A message on climate change, a new one from Bill Gates that surprised a lot of people. In a new essay, Gates, who has long devoted a huge amount of time and money to awareness on climate change, he now argues more resources should be focused on poverty and hunger. He says that he doesn't think climate change will basically end humanity. With us now is